Stay tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. Joan served the state of California as a member on the Arts Council and on the Film Commission. She was formerly on the Architectural Commission and fulfilled 2 terms on the Fine Arts Commission for the city of Beverly Hills. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview magazine, Condé Nast Publications, and the Hearst Corporation, Joan covered the world of fashion, the mysteries of food, the excitement of theater, and the international art scene. She continues to find people who are on the cutting edge of their professions. Here's Joan Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. We're taping here at the Hollywood Museum on Highland Avenue in the heart of Hollywood, and this is the historic Max Factor building which houses the museum. Our guests are actor Stu James and photographer Robert Fischer. Veteran Broadway actor, singer Stu James was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. He graduated from Morehouse College with a degree in banking and finance. He's been on stages on and off Broadway and across the nation. You've seen him in films, on TV dramas, and in high-profile commercials. So how did the finance major get on Broadway?
Is that crazy? Is that like a 360-degree turn?
Were you acting at all?
You know, I was doing it part-time while I was working at a bank. I started off with Nations Bank, well, Bank South, before they were bought out by Nations Bank.
Which was in Georgia?
Which was in Georgia, as one of on their management training program. And they offered me a job when I finished college, worked for them for like 7 years.
You did?
Yeah, so I did retail banking, I did commercial lending, and I did investment banking.
So that should have been great for your career. I bet everyone in acting wants you to help them.
Well, you know, at least when I make some money, I know what to do with it.
Exactly, and you can help other people. I think that's
the truth, yeah.
It's really good. But then how did you get into acting?
You know what? The bank was bought out by another bank. Nations Bank bought out, Bank of America bought out Nations Bank, and they gave us severance packages.
And you left.
The universe pushed me out. I had 6 weeks worth of pay, and it's like, what are you going to do?
No.
You're going to go and sit behind another desk, or you're going to, you know, do what you love to do. So I started, I was in classes at the Alliance Theater Company in Atlanta, acting classes. I always sang. I went to school on a voice scholarship in Morehouse.
Oh, you did? I was going to say, were you taking acting at Morehouse?
I was taking some acting classes, but, voice classes, that was my talent.
Was it in the family?
You know, that's so funny. My pops, he actually went to Clark Atlanta University, and he was a music major.
Oh, he was?
Yeah.
But did he bring his music home?
He brought his music home. He was more classical, pops a little bit more classical, jazz. He wasn't into, more the contemporary stuff, but he loves the classical, very, he's a theologian as well, so we're very much into music. You'd hear him playing at the piano all the time.
Did you sing in church?
I sang in church. Grew up singing in church.
So that is kind of like a Southern thing, isn't it?
It kind of is to a certain point. We go to church on Sundays.
So somebody has to sing.
Somebody's got to sing, exactly. And it's a love. I mean, when you love to do it, you're kind of connected to it and you're pulled to it.
When you were taking singing lessons, did it help in church? Or was it kind of like...
No, but the singing lessons didn't come until after church, until college.
Oh, way after.
Yeah, that was like... Even in high school, I sang, but technique-wise, it was just a natural talent. So that technique was developed in college, because I learned how to sing properly, breathe from the diaphragm, and, voice placement and all that kind of stuff, so that you can do this full-time.
So here you are, 7 years out of the bank, taking acting that you love, and then you're on Broadway?
Well, actually, that happened 7, that's probably about 10 years. I opened on Broadway on March of 20th of 2000, which was my birthday.
March 20th, me too.
Are you March 20th?
I am.
She's
Are
March
you?
20th. I am. You're
Pisces
Aries. You're on the cusp.
I can't believe we're the same day.
Oh my God.
That's great. So you went to Rent?
Went to Rent. Did Rent for 5 years. 6 months on the road. The other 4.5 years on Broadway.
How did you do that? How did you get...
You know what? It was a strong determination. They called me in to audition when I was living in Orlando working for Disney World. And the first audition was a bomber. She's like, horrible, you're not telling the story. Go home and read this and come back tomorrow.
But they had you come back, right?
And Heidi Marshall, who I love, she had me come back. And I booked it, and I booked the tour for 6 months before going to Broadway.
So did everybody go on tour?
No, not.
Oh, you mean Rent was already on Broadway?
It was already on Broadway
I
because I came in 2000, so it opened in
Oh,
96.
I saw it way early.
Yeah, it opened in 96.
Yeah, I saw it
yeah.
then.
So it had been 4 years on Broadway.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And then you went on.
Then I came on, March 20th. Wasn't
That was a happy birthday.
Wasn't that a happy birthday?
That really was great.
Crazy. It was
so,
awesome.
So what did you learn there that you took on to other places?
Wow. Discipline. It's like being an athlete. It
8
really
times
is.
a week?
8 shows a week, 1.5 day off. So you really have to pace yourself. You have to rest. You have to eat well. You have to take it. This instrument is it's your money maker. It's your gold thing. So you don't abuse it. You rest it in between shows. You're quiet. Off days, you're quiet. After the end of the show at night, you usually kind of shut it down, depending on the demands of the role. Like this role I'm doing now, it's a lot. It's very demanding being the lead in this show, but it's a great opportunity.
This role is great.
Story,
It's about Dolphins of Hollywood, recorded in Hollywood,
Recorded in Hollywood, which was his first record company for John Dolphin.
That's what it was. We're going to talk about that. But from Rent, you took a national tour of Color Purple.
Did the Color Purple. Played Harpo for 3 years, 3.5 years.
And where do you go on a national tour? Big cities?
All over. L.A., Chicago. We were in Chicago for 7 months.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, we opened in Chicago with Oprah coming out and everything.
Oh, so you stay there for a long time.
Usually on most of the first national tours, you sit for a while. So Chicago, we went to San Fran, we went to Atlanta, every state practically.
So here we are. We have you in these like big things, and then now we have you at first. This show opened at a very tiny theater on Santa Monica Boulevard. Was it called the Lillian?
Well, the Lillian, then moved to the Hudson for the extension for 3 additional months.
Oh, so this play, tell us the name of it.
Yeah, recorded in Hollywood, a 6-week run that turned into 4 months, and now we're doing a second run at the Kirk Douglas Theater in Culver City. And
that's just starting, but it gives you the opportunity to use what you've learned on all these other tours, right?
That's right. It's the truth.
Or is it harder because you're the lead?
It's
You weren't the lead in these other ones, were you?
No, it was featured in supporting roles. So this is like me, being the lead, kind of carrying the show. I mean, I can't do the show with everybody without the cast. The cast is amazing. Everybody works so hard. The crew is amazing. The creatives they're geniuses, because we're originating a show.
The choreographer's great.
Cassie Crump, yeah. She's and
wonderful.
April, her assistant, they're amazing. And she doesn't hold back. She's got me moving and grooving. I'm like, okay. But I'm realizing I'm more of a dancer than I want to acknowledge.
But you were doing it before. We're talking about the second creation of this, or was the first creation at the Lillian? I mean, was that
pretty much this? Yeah, but this is a different show. It's not the same show you at the Lillian.
So you did a lot of All My Children and General Hospital and a lot of TV.
Done some TV
what
stuff.
kind of roles did you play?
General Hospital. I actually had like a little some recurring day player. I played he was a counselor at one of the hospitals at Shady Brook Hospital, I think it's called. And oh my God, Neighbors, some co-starring and recurring roles, Modern Family co-starring, but actually just have something that premieres in September. Project I just booked and shot weeks ago called Mr. Student Body President, recurring, a Ron Howard, Brian Grazer project.
And what do you play in that?
I'm playing an assistant principal. I'm playing Assistant Principal Dittman, recurring on the show. It's really great.
I'm asking about these acting things because you have to act on stage too in this play besides singing and dancing and
everything.
So tell us the story of, what's his name, John?
His name is John Dolphin, who is an awesome, I'm honored to be able to play him and to be able to tell his story. Renaissance man. He was 10 years before Barry Gordy, and he owned Dolphins of Hollywood, which was a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week record shop. John Dolphin was a Pullman porter. Before he did this, he went to law. He was in law school, studying as well to be a lawyer, and then he found his niche, and his niche was promoting concerts and doing stuff with music because that's where his heart was.
He started here in Hollywood.
Started here,
right here, up the street from this museum.
Yes, well, he tried to open the shop in Hollywood, but they wouldn't allow it in 1948.
That was amazing. He had the space. He had everything ready.
Yeah, had everything ready. So, but since they wouldn't let him open it, he went down to Central and Vernon. He opened it.
I know.
He opened it in the hood.
Which is great because that's where we used to go.
I know.
mean,
I remember you telling me that.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
Vernon
Yeah.
and Crenshaw and that whole area,
Right.
and everyone knew him and
Yeah.
knew that, and it was a safe place.
Right, right. Wow, how awesome is that? I've always heard, and from my research, it was like an all-night party.
Yeah.
You go down and you see, the stars, Ava Gardner and, James Brown, Sarah Vaughan, Sam Cooke, all the people hanging out at Dolphins of Hollywood.
And he was very outgoing. He had a family that he kept kind of in the background, right?
Okay, yeah. That was Ruth and the kids. They had the twins, Errol and Gerald, and the daughter Patricia.
So did they help with this production at all? Have you had any?
They most definitely come to the show. I've seen the twins and his grandson. Is one of Jamel, who's awesome, along with Lou Spitzdoe.
They helped write?
Are part of, producers, and he's a writer. But
right.
we've got a new Broadway producer on board, a guy named Lou Spitzdoe. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Don't beat me down, Lou.
Yeah.
And, but who's produced so many things on Broadway. He's amazing.
So
directed by Denise Dowse, who is an actor's director, smart woman, creative woman.
And what about the cast? Did it come with you from the small theater to the big theater?
They have done a lot of recasting. They kept me.
Yay!
Yay! But I miss the old cast, but this new cast, they're great. They're amazing. Eric Anthony stayed on board. Jenna Gillespie is new Ruth, who's amazingly talented, beautiful voice. A new Huggy Boy, a guy named Matt Mugesson.
Huggy Boy. That's why we knew about Dolphins, because Huggy Boy used to always
Huggy Boy was the DJ
on the radio.
He was a DJ, white DJ in front of this big window on Central and Vernon.
I know.
Can you believe that?
Great.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
And that was
he
part
was
of John's his PR too. He's like, let me get everybody down here.
Yeah. That's what Huggy Boy did, right?
Yeah. He was
so
DJ.
What changes do you see besides a few cast members? You're on a big stage now.
Yes.
What about the music? Because you had this little group in the back that we couldn't really see.
Well, from my understanding, the band will be on stage, so there'll be like a house band at Club Alabama.
I got it.
And so the setting is like, pretty much everything happened, which is the store, Dolphins of Hollywood.
But what about, you had to dance this big ensemble dancing on this little tiny stage. Now you have a big stage.
Now we're a little bit more spread out, so we can play and, create and a few more fan kicks and stuff like that.
But different choreography?
Different choreography. It's a lot of different stuff. The script I'm telling you, you're going to be amazed. The relationships have been developed more. You're going to be more invested in them. They make sense. It's going to grab your heartstrings. The music, new arrangements, new songs. They've added songs. They've gotten rid of stuff. The music most definitely fits more for the time period. It was great music before.
And Stu James, what did you have to learn? A lot of new things?
Yeah, because the director, she wanted, she's like, don't bring me with don't bring the same thing. She's like, go dig deeper, and give me more of John. So I'm still developing and adding more layers to him.
So when you went back to research John,
yes.
I know there were photographs. What else did you do?
Oh my gosh, read the book, recorded in Hollywood, which was great. And I went online and did research, and it gives you general stuff. But that book, recorded in Hollywood, in the back, page 123 on out, is a lot of, it's like a letter from Ruth, from his wife, and, quotes from her and things. She tells about their relationship.
So you know how to move from that?
Most
it
definitely.
Helps you?
Yeah, and I invite him in. I think like when they're real souls, they choose you to tell their story.
What about the photographs? Do you start taking on that look?
Most definitely.
He was short, right?
Well, no. John Dolphin, he was actually a taller man.
Oh, he was?
He was a big man, yeah. So I'm the shorter version of him.
Oh, I see. Oh, he was much taller.
He was taller. I'm a shorter version of him.
Was he more burly?
He was a little burlier, a little thicker, And I've slimmed down because I've been doing all this dancing. They've got me doing in the show, which is fine. Cassie Crump, I love it. I love her creative force. But, he smoked that cigar. He loves the cigar.
Do you use that on stage?
We do have a cigar. We don't light it, though. But we.
You always have.
But I had to. I don't smoke, so I had to actually light it and see what it.
Ick,
felt, what
right?
It felt like.
Ick.
It was a different taste. It was. It's nothing I'm gonna. But it was actually a little soothing, a little bit. But I don't. I won't start smoking cigars. But that gives me permission to kind of be in his world, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so that was a different kind of feel.
Different feel.
The other thing, you've been on Broadway, you've been off Broadway, you've been on stages in Chicago and Dallas and all over. How does this feel? How does this production feel? Does it give you that Eastern Coast feeling?
You know, it gives you, it's getting to that place, it's getting Broadway ready.
That's what I mean, is
Yeah,
it?
it is.
Can you feel it?
I can feel it. I mean, huge steps from where we were at the Hudson and the Lillian. I'm telling you, you're going to feel it too. Everybody that comes out is going to feel the progress. They're going to feel the songs and the music. They're going to see the book is stronger, the choreography, and we got some great talent.
I'm so glad it's at a big theater, and I can't wait to see it on Broadway.
Yeah.
So, Stu James, congratulations.
Thank you
and,
so much
happy
for having
birthday
me.
for March.
Yes, March 20th. You're a spring baby.
Right.
That's the day of rebirth.
Oh, that's us, isn't it?
It's the first day of
Always.
spring. Yeah.
Each day is
I
a
love
rebirth for us.
It's the truth.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. We're taping here at the Hollywood Museum in the heart of Hollywood, and our guest is photographer Robert Fischer, who was born and raised in Chicago, graduated with a Bachelor of Arts from the University of Chicago, and he has a degree in psychology from Roosevelt University. He's a painter, photographer, observer, and son, but that's questionable. We'll have to ask him about that. He did the picture of his mother, which is on the set. And actually, Robert, you started your career as a painter.
I did. I was a genuine male chauvinist pig, and one day...
What does that have to do with painting?
Well, I'll tell you.
Okay.
My wife was a painter, and I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and it was a terrible painting. I had nothing else to do, and so I covered it up.
You painted over her painting?
I did. That was in the good old days when you could be a male chauvinist pig. And I woke her up, and she said, "Oh, I really like the way you did those colors." Ah. And so it was really cool to make art, because I had never done anything creative other than make the name of Israel on a 7th grade school project.
So you didn't start in art in high school or college?
No.
I mean, what were you going to do with psychology?
I wanted to be a social psychologist. To me, it made sense. You couldn't understand people if you didn't know where the environment that they were growing up in.
So had you taken a job doing that at all?
No, for some reason in my head I never could see myself putting out my shingle. It was like I knew I wasn't really going to do that, but I didn't know what I was going to do.
At one point in one of the books I read that a curator says, you know the psychology, we're using the word again, of color.
I do.
And what does that really mean? I mean, I know he says you love color and we can see you love color, but what does that mean?
Well, it's all about manipulating the viewer to see my story or see what I have to say. And sometimes a painting only needs red in one place in that painting, because you're trying to make a point or emphasize a point when you understand the different meanings of the color red, or what the color blue means, or how people react to it. And so sometimes in my photography it'll be outrageously colorful, and sometimes it's black and white with maybe just one little spot of color.
I noticed that. I noticed in the black and white, like there might be a red dress or some other color. And how do you get that in those black and white photographs?
I use Photoshop. I actually start, because I'm shooting digital now, the photos are color, and then I take the color out of them because I actually learned how to paint by using photographers such as Avedon and Hurrell. So,
you mean actually painting? That taught you how to paint? Or to do your photography painting?
Well, because I didn't go to school and I had no sense of anatomy, I used black and white photos, and I used Penn and Avedon and Hurrell. Because you can see the shadows more distinctly.
I see.
And so I learned how to really look into the black and white.
Let's go back to the painting, because I think that's seminal in just what you're talking about, of your even though this is a color photograph, going back shows how you use that color. What style of art did you make?
Well, I started out copying painters like Matisse and Picasso.
Oh, you were actually, I see.
Not actually physically copying their paintings, but imitating that style. Then I moved into doing pop art, doing celebrities and movie stars and
actual portraits. Could you
portraits.
Paint them, or were you copying? What were you doing?
No. I would do portraits of celebrities,
Just like a picture up here of...
Yeah, like these were like Harel photos.
And
These were great, and I would do paintings of them.
I see.
Sometimes I would get the painting signed by whoever was in that, because it added cachet to the image.
To the person that you made a portrait
Yeah,
of, you
if
would
they
get
were
them
still
to
alive,
sign it.
obviously.
Don Bacardi does that.
Yeah,
After
I know.
he does his drawing, he has the person that he's drawn sign the paper.
Right.
That's interesting.
And I would have them only sign the back. They had to sign that because the only signature on the front was mine.
What kind of materials were you using?
I started with oil and then moved on to acrylic.
And were they on canvas, paper, what?
They were on canvas. One thing that's really key to my photography, and you brought that up about my painting, is that I really consider myself a painter with a camera.
That's very good to say, because I'm wondering how the painting led into your photography.
Well, first of all, I used to do a lot of portrait work, and I would hire a photographer. I would go into people's houses, and I'd go in their closets, and I'd dress them up outrageously, and then I'd photograph them, and then do the painting based on those photos.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, so there was this photo element involved early on.
From the very beginning. And sometimes the photographer, I couldn't go on the shoot, and the photographer would say, I know the Fischer style. And the photos would come back, and they had the essence. They looked like mine, but there was something missing, and the something missing was the fact that I wasn't taking the picture.
Oh, so then you started taking the picture.
Yeah.
Then did you also take the picture in paint after that, or did it
No,
just
by
stay?
that time I got to a point I gave up painting.
I see.
But because I'm really a painter with a camera, when I take a picture, I'm not concerned about taking a great photo. In other words, I don't care if it's in focus or any of that. I'm concerned with getting a great image. And that frees me up from being stuck with the technology of photography.
Did you always use the digital format?
Now, I started with film.
Did you start with film? So did you
Yeah.
manipulate your film?
No.
No.
And I never developed my own film. I wanted to be able to yell at people if they screwed up the...
You call yourself, I think, a street photographer. Vignettes with street work.
Right.
And this is your first book. And the second...
No, this is my first book here.
Photographs My Mother Wouldn't Hang was your first book.
Right.
And then the second book, these are street things. Do they tell a story, or do you tell the story along with it? Do you write a story?
No, but I'm interested in the narrative. So the stories that I tell in my photos are the same stories that I told in my paintings. So when and the great thing about street photography is that I don't have to be clever. Like in the studio, you have to tell people, look this way and look that way, and it gets so boring after a while. Whereas on the street, I just have to be awake. I have to see this stuff.
But does this story tell a story? I mean, does this photo tell a story? Let's say the cover.
I think so.
All right,
but I don't really know what the story is on this one. When I took this picture, I only saw the old man on the walker. I never saw any of the other stuff going on there. And when I looked at it, I thought, wow, that's a great story.
But this picture looks like you set it up.
No.
Lovers, somebody talking to a friend,
Right, somebody
and the old
carrying their
man in
kid.
the middle. Yeah, and somebody with her kid. Yeah.
Yeah, well, my friend who is very astute about my photography says, that's amazing that you saw that. And I always tell him the same thing, that I never saw that stuff. And he said, well, you must unconsciously see that stuff.
So how do you do it? What is your style? When you're walking down the street, you have your camera,
I have
right?
my camera, and I've learned to shoot either over my shoulder or shoot up from sitting on the subway.
Let's see. Like, I see what you do.
Well, I did that to you when you were busy.
I know.
First of all, God forbid I should turn on my camera. There you go.
So you just
I shoot like this. And then I never ask people if I can take their picture unless I want a specific connection with the camera.
So you've traveled all over the world.
Yeah.
And you've got pictures in both of these books, from Australia to parts of India.
And the Amazon.
And the Amazon.
Everywhere.
And you've never asked for any permission. Have you had any problems?
Yeah, I've gotten, I hate to say the phrase, when I get my tit caught in the ringer. Yes, I have, the people say, did you take my picture? And I always lie.
And say no?
I said, no, you're not that interesting. And they said, I saw you took my picture. And I said, no, I didn't. And then if they continue to harass me, I will erase the picture. Because no picture is the only picture I'm going to take.
No, see, you're really good about that. You like, I've got it, it looks great, but then if somebody doesn't like it, like when you were shooting me, you went like, well, if you don't like that, tell me.
Yeah, I don't think I would have erased those because you had already agreed to get photographed by me. But on the street, you know, I take pictures and sometimes people catch me and then, or sometimes I'll look at the picture when I get home and I look at these people in the picture and they look like they want to murder me.
Oh, so you can see that.
I
'cause
never
they
see it when I'm
know.
taking the picture.
Yeah, so what else is in this vignette book?
Well, there's photos from all over the world of people in various, you know, like it's hard to explain, just various stories. You know, the photos are very narrative, kind of like, remember the old TAT test?
Yeah,
Where they gave you
yeah.
the test and you had to tell the beginning, middle, and end.
Right.
You know, my photos are really, they're all about people. And the main thing that you would get from looking at from this book is that you realize that people all over the world are exactly the same.
That's really interesting because you do a lot of headshots, right?
I do.
And the one thing that I noticed from this book to the other book is that the photographs my mother wouldn't hang. Why wouldn't she hang them?
Well, she wouldn't hang them because they wouldn't go with her couch.
Did she know about them? Did she see them?
Yeah, she did. And she would always, she was really terrible when I was growing up. She was really mean to me. And so...
In Chicago?
Yeah, she was, everybody said, oh, you're so lucky you had a Jewish mother. And I said, oh, God, I wish I had a Jewish mother.
She wasn't?
She wasn't. She never made me chicken soup or made me put on my galoshes or nothing. And so she was interesting. She was an exhibitionist, and she was also very shy. So she was like the push me, pull you from Dr. Dolittle.
But was it, well, talking, because this is your psychology coming out, but was she on stage? Did she act?
Well, she had been an opera singer. She was very flamboyant. She was like, I don't know if you remember the movie The Time Machine with the mannequin whose clothes kept going up and down and changing and whatever. You know, she would have breakaway patent leather hot pants and mini skirts.
But she wasn't afraid to be on view, is what I'm saying.
No, she loved
so
being
she was on stage, right?
Yeah.
But then tell us about this. I mean, this is pretty wrinkled.
Yeah, and then when I like one time I took her picture with blinking red devil horns.
Ooh.
And so she said, get away from me, leave me alone. I said, just shut up and sit there. And so she folded her hands, she stared up at the lamp, and she smiled at the lamp. And
oh, then she was into it.
She was really into it.
The one thing I was going to say, this one is they're like done in duos, right?
Well, these are two.
Oh, these are
these
two.
Are both
Let me
related.
see this one, because this one you mentioned Harrell, and it was one of the most beautiful pictures because of the color, the light involved.
I think you might be talking about the picture of my daughter, which is just a gorgeous...
This one?
No, this is a friend of mine. That's
this
very
one is
Harrell.
What I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So how did you get these shadows and light?
Well, that was before I knew how to use, like, when I took your picture yesterday, I used off-camera flash. That was all shot with natural light.
And then two different people?
Two different people.
And then you put those, you made, each group is something goes together.
Well, they're
is
set
what
up
I'm
as a
trying to say.
conversation between the two.
Yes.
And the book is set up like James Joyce's Ulysses, in that the first two photos are two women that are separate, and the last photo in the book are two women together. So the book goes around in a circle.
Well, I think the books are going to tell your story, and I'm so glad you came and explained things to us today, Bob.
I had a great time, and I had a great time taking your picture.
Oh, I can't wait to see it, and I can't wait for you to come back. As soon as he finishes it, we'll put it on the set for you to see. So keep writing to JAQUINN1 at AOL.com, and we'll see you next time.